We believe that the players really played their way into that roster. And it's difficult. It's difficult. Some situations that, probably the fans will now discuss, why not Jordan Morris and Wondo in there? Well, because Wondo proves, all the time that he just is so hungry for goals, and Jordan is on his way through the ranks coming up. As of today, this is the strongest group of players we believe we can have.
And for more on Jurgen Klinsmann's decisions, let's bring in Fox Soccer analyst Alexi Lalas. Now, Alexi, I want to refer to something we just heard Klinsmann talk about, and that's leaving Jordan Morris off the team in favor of Chris Wondolowski. And you had an interesting tweet about that. You wrote, "Let this be a lesson to Jordan Morris." What did you mean by that, and what do you think of the move?
Well, look, anytime you're talking about Jordan Morris, and we know the saga that he went through over the last year with regards to whether he was going to sign with MLS, and obviously he did and then went to Seattle, or he was going to take an opportunity over in Germany. So you have to ask the question, had Jordan Morris actually taken the German route and gone to Germany, would he still have been left off of this roster? Now, it is not a meritocracy when it comes to any national team. It is about personal preference. It's not about who deserves what. But I did think that was interesting after this entire saga had played out, that then when it comes to Copa America, he gets left off the roster.
You're going down a road that leads me into the decision that Jurgen Klinsmann made about his goaltenders. Brad Guzan gets the starting nod over Tim Howard, and here is what Klinsmann had to say about that decision.
We go into the tournament with Brad Guzan being the number one. Brad, throughout the last 2 years, played very consistent and very solid with us. Tim Howard, he hasn't been with us for a year after the World Cup, and he also lost his starting spot the last half a year with Everton. So we think that in that moment, Brad has a little bit the edge and deserves it.
So, Alexi, what do you think? Jurgen says a lot of it has to do with the fact that Howard wasn't on the national team for a year after the World Cup.
My take on this is, look, Tim Howard, I know he took the sabbatical and took the year off, and that probably hurt him in the eyes of Jurgen Klinsmann. But if you have Tim Howard on your roster in 2016, I think you play him. If he's not going to be your starting goalkeeper, then I don't even think you bring him. Yes, I like having Tim Howard as a backup, but I'm not sure how much Tim Howard likes being a backup, and I'm not sure how much he will be of benefit being a backup.
How about a guy that you see on the 23 who could use Copa America as sort of his breakout moment?
We're going to talk about Christian Pulisic, this player who we think is going to bring us to the promised land. And the United States soccer culture, there's nothing we like more than potential. Now, the realization of that potential, that's something that may or may not come. But until you actually see him playing consistently for the U.S., and I think that we are going to see him at moments this summer to be given that opportunity. But it is nice to see a player, and a young player like him, playing, scoring goals, because this is the type of player that we constantly hold out hope for.
And one of the questions about Pulisic is he a midfielder? Is he a forward? Here's what Jurgen Klinsmann had to say about versatility on his roster.
I think one of the facets of international soccer over the last 8 to 10 years is definitely that, the positions are kind of melting. You cannot clearly define anymore who's now purely a defender, who's only a midfielder, and who's only a striker. There is so much movement on there that players can play different roles, different positions in specific moments based on what is needed for that team.
So what do you think, Alexi? Versatility, or do you think Klinsmann should really be looking for players to fill specific positions?
I do agree with Jurgen Klinsmann that you need to be able to play multiple positions, and you need to be able to adapt, especially in a tournament setting. But at some point, you also have to define what the player plays, where he plays on the field, and certainly how he's going to play that position.